For those of you who don't recognize the background, we're in Bloomington, Indiana. I think I've been here once in the last 37 years, since this time. And I'm sitting with a group of extraordinary people who are friends from as far back as we can go, and I mean beyond this lifetime. It's really extraordinary to sit with people that you haven't sat with in decades. And there's a real power to connecting through time and space, and realizing, in a certain sense, the timelessness of our connections. I think we all sensed it as we walked in the room today. That, we all have stories, we all have stuff we've gone through, we've all had bodies that have gotten older and narratives that have gotten complicated, and we're all approaching what I call the third act, if not already in it, of our lives. And it's a very big series of events and transitions, and yet here we are, as though we saw each other yesterday, with the same primary, ultimate connection of, you can just call it love if you want, because there's a lot of love in the connection, but there's something else. Those of us who studied with Rudy all those years ago found it in his presence, and have all, in some remarkable way, sustained it in our own lives, whether we sit or don't sit, because that's not the essence of it. The essence is we found a certain kind of presence in our being that is in everybody's being, but often not found, not discovered, not experienced or shared in any conscious way. The conscious reaching into the depth of oneself and beginning to feel there's a journey inside that brings us home and allows, if you will, home's a nice word for it, but presence, infinite connectivity, to filter through the being that we are and to spread out into the incredibly beautiful, complicated, mysterious manifestation that we're all walking through every day. I haven't talked to a lot of you in a long time, so I want to share a little bit of story just so it brings us into the moment. We all sat with Rudy with the understanding, as he actually kind of put it, of wanting to grow. We all wanted to grow spiritually. And growth was a big part of the asking. Please help me to grow. But more deeply than that was an asking to surrender. Please help me to surrender, to let go. But he talked about growth a lot for a lot of reasons, and I think one of them is that functioning in the world is not a static thing. There is an evolutionary process. There is something that reaches higher, that wants to unfold, that wants to accomplish, that wants to achieve, that wants to get to something I think we all call fulfillment. We want to be fulfilled in some fundamental way. And that's the nature of worldly life, that our goal to get something, to arrive somewhere, to get that which we aren't or in ourselves already or that we don't have, is part of the ride. And Rudy gave us this idea of growing, which is not his alone. Our school teachers gave it to us. Our parents gave it to us. Everybody gave it to us. We want to grow. I want to grow. And in the world, that is absolutely fundamental and essential. But spiritually speaking, the road of surrender is more powerful. It's more powerful because it isn't about future tense. It isn't about getting anywhere. It's about letting go of everything on the journey and always knowing who you are, where you are, at any given time. And of course, what you begin to discover, if you spend a lifetime surrendering, is that you're always just here. There's no there. There's nothing to grow into. You've already arrived. You've always been there, your entire life. There's a part of you that is infinitely still pointed and present tense. And the part of you that is reaching is the manifested part, that we're all in bodies, we all have lives to live, we all have stuff to get done. But underlying that is this exquisite sense of everything is exactly as it must be at this very moment. There appears to be a conflict in that for a lot of people. You know, how can this moment be perfect when I'm not there, I haven't arrived, I haven't gotten any of these things? That's a real frustration for many seekers. Because how do you stop and settle for what is when you don't have what could be or will be or might be or should be or whatever it is you're dreaming is out there for you? The important thing is to make a true, I could even say heroic effort to live a good life, to live a fulfilled, joyful, satisfying life. That's a great thing. But what will happen to you, as happened to me rather dramatically years ago, about 8 years ago or so, I just said, it's not working. It's not working. I've been sitting, I sat every day, every 24-hour period, from the day I met Rudy until about 6 years ago or so, and meditated. I never missed it, never. And I sat and I asked to surrender, and I took my deep breaths and I expanded and I opened, and I felt so much love growing inside me, and I felt such opening of my throat chakra, and I was able to speak and create and make things out of words, which is what I lived on. I was able to move through life, manifest things through my navel chakra, if you will. All these things were working. I was functioning, and I wasn't there. I kept feeling I'm not there. What am I doing wrong? How much more do I have to do? Where can I get? And I got to this very interesting place. I said, I'm done. I can't do this. It's not working. I've tried everything. It's not happening. And I gave up trying. I gave up meditating. I didn't sit. I did nothing. Except I have discovered this world of what's called non-duality. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, this world that comes out of Advaita Yoga, really, a form of yoga, which says you're perfect as you are. And I discovered people who had kind of awakened to a sense of presence that basically took them beyond this limited self into something infinite and endless. And they kept saying, you can't get there, you are there. And that made me crazy. But I paid a lot of attention to it. And there was a book by Nisargadatta Maharaj called I Am That, a fundamental work for many of these people. And basically, again, he says you are already the thing you're looking for. And I ended up attending some groups that were involved in non-duality, and some of you have heard this story, but essentially there was a man, Paul Hederman, giving a talk that I could not follow. He's so brilliant, but so fast in his speech that I was going, I can't get what, I mean, I knew what he was saying was real, but I couldn't get there. At the end of the talk, I just sat there like, I went, huh. Something fundamental had changed and was absolutely other. And it took me a while to totally get it, but I realized there's no Bruce left. Bruce is done, gone, finished. I cannot tell you what that feels like, but it was the last thing I ever imagined happening, because I always thought awakening and enlightenment would be something I would have. I would be enlightened. I would be super whatever, man, Wonder Woman, hero of the ages, you know. I would be that. I would attain that. And the incredible thing was the arriving at awakening and enlightenment was the reality or the realization there is no you to awaken or enlighten. Never has been. There is no you, which makes little, if any, cognitive sense. But the actual experience of it is so remarkable that you just go, huh? You cannot find this self. You can't, it's there, but you realize the person you were or thought you were is suddenly part of or one with something beyond comprehension, literally beyond comprehension. It is infinite, eternal you. And there is no one to identify with it as having it, because it's so big it can't be had. It can't even be understood. It can't be conceptualized. It's just vast, and it's everywhere, and it's your very being. The arrival at that was not a product of having tried over all those years to sit every day and get there. It was kind of a product of stopping that, because the seeking kept me from getting, from finding. Seeking is a kind of necessary process that ultimately has to be stopped, because the seeker will never be satisfied, because it will never find something that itself can contain. The only containment is the letting go of that which is looking, and then realizing, as I did, that there's nothing but discovery. There is nothing to be found. Everything is amazing. Everything, constantly, unendingly, wow. Wow and gratitude. Those are the two final emotions that I've come to, along with love, of course, and a sense of amazement and connectivity and the joy of it and the sorrow of it. People don't understand. They think, oh, I'm going to be awake, I'm pure endless bliss, and people sell it that way. It's not like that. It's different than that, because you're everything. You're Puerto Rico. You know, you're Houston, you're Florida. You are the totality. You are all there is. You are what is. You will know and experience everything, and you will find a place for it. You will find a place to take it in. And you will find that there is a journey into self that is full of suffering, and that suffering leads you to a place of profound knowing. That knowing is only accessible when you understand the impermanence and the difficulty of manifested life. Manifested life is not forever. You are going to lose your body, you are going to lose your history, your story, your families, your loved ones, your everything is going to be gone. What remains has no beginning and no end. It just is. It just is. It has always been. It feels everything. And yet it's a space in which feeling is allowed, and there's no reaction to it. It just is. There's no person saying, oh, but there is the feeling. You will feel what the Dalai Lama calls compassion for everyone, for everything, for life itself. Because, as Buddha put it, it's suffering. And suffering has a negative tinge to it for people who are, caught in the world. Suffering has a negative tinge to it, but what is true about suffering is it leads you deeply into the one place that you need to know, which is the truth of being, which is the end of suffering, meaning the end of personal suffering. Your suffering will no longer be about you. Suffering will be there, but it will be part of the vast soup of being. It's got everything in it. It's got everything imaginable in it. All the ingredients of life are in it. And it isn't you, it is itself. And it is brilliant beyond conception. You will touch that brilliance. You will know it. It's not your specific brilliance. It is the unknowable brilliance of the mystery of being. The mystery is everything. Everything. You cannot understand the mystery. You can only be it. And if anything, we have come into these bodies, into these lives, to witness it, to share it, and maybe get a little angle on it. A little bit of insight into the mystery of this unbelievably powerful, unknowable thing we call life. It is beyond anything we can talk about, write about, sing about. I mean, that's all we do. All we do is talk about the mystery. All we do is sing about life. And we all give it this fundamental rigidity in a way. Oh, this is life. Oh, that's a tree. Oh, that's happiness. Oh, that's sadness. Oh, that's a person. That limitation is so wrong in terms of what is really going on. The vastness of a person is incomprehensible. I talked about it a few weeks ago, but we're all individual galaxies or universes. We are absolutely wondrous in our vastness and being and our separateness and in our collective truth. So, the last 7 years for me have been what I would call this expansive flowering. I do not understand it at all. I cannot comprehend what it is. I know I look like Bruce. I sound like Bruce. I was on the airplane the other day and I went to the bathroom, I looked in the mirror and I went, oh, that's Bruce. I had totally forgotten that that's who it was. And you know, and Blanche has to live with this every day. You know, it's definitely a Bruce. But it is something else. And it is, the thing that it is what you are. That's the thing I need, it's what you are. And if you walk around thinking you are this separate thing, you're deluded. You're truly deluded. And you live in that delusion, and you live in it with fear and doubt and judgment and all of these issues that are very scary. And they're scary because you're temporary. You have this short little lifespan, and as we all get older, as each of us now are sitting together for the first time in decades, we're all older. And there is something clearly that's changed. We haven't shared all of our stories, but we've definitely looked at each other, and there is something that's changed and something that has not changed. And as we each hugged this morning, you could feel the unchangeable truth of connectivity, who we are. We have been and are this one thing that we have been. I really believe, I don't understand, I can't talk about past lives and future lives and all of that stuff, but if those things exist, we have shared them. We've known each other, we've probably sat in ashrams a billion times in a billion different bodies, and maybe even in this one in different positions in the room. I don't know how it works, but I know that it is really extraordinary and that we are the witnesses of it. We may have been born to do that, to witness, and that's my theory of life. We come into life to know life, to experience life for the greater good, if you want to call it, or the greater God. We are that which has been given the task of manifesting to witness and know what we are through our own particular universal, particular experiences. But here's the thing. Rudy used to talk, and I started talking recently about horizontals and verticals. life is a horizontal. Spiritual work is a vertical. It goes up. And it kind of sort of spreads out a little bit into other verticals. So you can live a life on a very low vertical, kind of mundane, tribal, get me through the day, find food, hunt, feed your family, produce, reproduce, and just live that life. But then there's this thing that lifts you up into some other awareness. It teaches you how to build fire. It teaches you how to use the manifestation. It goes higher again. It learns how to get clothing. It learns how to educate, how to put down markings on walls. It learns how to express itself, and it keeps going up like that. And it keeps expanding. So we're all on these verticals, and we have these horizontals. It was the wrong way, wasn't it? Horizontals, verticals. And Rudy was essentially an extraordinary manifestation of the vertical. He was connected to something way out there, if you want to call it that way. It could also be right in here. But he was connected, and he brought something, a wisdom, an energy, a knowing, a love, a power into this and gave it to us. And as we drank from that well or that faucet, we got that energy, and it lifted us up to another horizontal. And if we kept doing it, another horizontal. And you kept growing, in a sense, in consciousness and awareness and all of that. But Rudy said, and he was really good about this, he said, as you grow and you build and you construct this building of your, whatever you are, put a stick of dynamite in every level and be prepared to blow the whole thing up. In the end, you don't have to blow it up, it blows up. And it either blows up when you die, or it blows up before you die. And if it explodes, you realize you are in a place that is horizontal and vertical at the same time. You are in the place that no longer has evolutionary power. It has no goal at all. It perhaps has no purpose or meaning. It's filled with the essence of what we call purpose and meaning, but it's not directed at anything. It just is part of the makeup of the what is that we are. And it's impossible to get yourself around it, but you know you're in it. You know you're one with it. You know that you are living because of it. You're breathing it every minute. And that's the most unbelievably beautiful, glorious thing to be aware of. If there is a struggle going on inside you, and many people struggle, it's because they are not free of this journey into, or back into, if you will, your own self. If you're caught by the manifested world, and it's easy to get caught, guys. I mean, we all know that. This world is so deeply addictive. It's so attractive. It's so disturbing. It's so involving. You know, even the stuff we hate, we can't stop looking at. You know, it's like it's here. It's just, we're so like, oh my God. You know, because it is amazing. The manifested world is amazing. It's just a reflection of the unmanifested, but it is remarkable, and we're caught in it. Being caught is a prison-like experience, and spiritual work is called liberation. It'll free you from all that stuff. Frees you from everything. That's the ride that we're trying to take, this ride toward liberation. But if you're trying too hard to get there, if you really, I want liberation, you're going to keep yourself from getting there. If you want with your, like this, it won't happen. If you want like this, possibilities exist endlessly. Wanting with your palms open, not with your fists closed. It's really important. And we're all trying to touch this ineffable truth that permeates our days and our nights and our lives and our relationships. It is at the core of everything, and we keep forgetting, we keep missing the point, we keep getting caught in all of this ridiculous stuff. The idea of sitting still, of being one-pointed, of being calm inside yourself for a period of time is just an endless reminder of what you already are. You don't have to do anything to get there, you're there. Just quiet down, be still, meditate, walk, look around you, feel, create. Whatever it is that brings you into your thing, ride horses. You know, everybody has something that brings them back to themselves. Find that. And it's not television. And it's not your cell phone. You know, it's really not those things. Those pull you into something other in the world. You're trying to just quietly extract yourself. When I was coming here this morning, a word popped out at me. And this often happens when I'm going to teach. And then you figure out, how do I get that word in? Or that idea in. But it's a really important word. And I want to just express it because it has to do with what I'm talking about. The word is accountability. And it came at me with, like, accountability. Because as long as you are trapped in the world, trapped is a bad word, engaged, lost in, completely involved in the world, you are going to be accountable. And you are going to be accountable to something. And to know what that thing is important. It's part of much of religious teaching, this accountability idea. The fact that there is good and evil, that you are choosing along the way, that you are doing things that are going to, in a way, compromise, possibly, your connection to yourself. What you want in life, trust me, what you want is pure connection. Unalloyed, untrammeled, absolute oneness. But all of these things that we do in life that complicate ourselves make it hard for that channel to stay open. It gets very corroded. It's awful to look at. And that's what I do when I work with people. And awful is a bad word. Let's use the word awe, full of awe. Okay, but it's channels that are very compromised. That people are having trouble connecting to themselves on a daily basis because they're so in the horizontal that they forget the vertical, and it just gets very, very twisted. And what I try to do is to, I'm a roto-rooter guy, I kind of go in and try to do the cleaning, and it's a very strange process because it's this vein over here and it's that artery over there. All these things are blocked and they all have to get cleaned out in a sense. But if you're not aware of that journey, if you are trapped in the wheel of life and death, the Buddhist idea of, we're all going around this thing over and over and over, if you are trapped in that, the only way out is to be accountable for your actions. The roadmap for that, the operating manual is, I call it the 10 Commandments. I'm not the only one who calls it the 10 Commandments, but they're pretty important. If you follow the 10 Commandments, you'll probably live a life that will allow, when the moment comes, for you to rise back up that channel. If you haven't been aware of a channel of higher consciousness operating in your life, and you live a good, accountable life, you will be reabsorbed into that at the end of your life, and you will go into it going, like that, heaven. If you have lived a life that's very compromised and accountable, and you have not lived well, this thing opens up. You will not be happy. It absolutely knows every element of your personality, of every choice you've made in your life, of everything you've done or not done, and you will observe that stuff with those of you who know the Michelangelo painting, of heaven. You will be like this. The shame will be so overwhelming, because when you realize you have been in the presence of the divine your entire life, it has been shining on you your whole life, and you have been operating as though it was never there. That is very painful. And so if there's a talk to be given, what they call fire and brimstone talks. The fire and brimstone talk is you're responsible for who you are and the choices you made, and you will rise or fall accordingly. And while you're in your body and making these choices, if you can get any kind of opening to your true self, if you can find this channel to yourself, if you can allow a Rudy into your life who brings you this awareness and this ability to do this work, then that's really helpful. Because then when you finally let go of mortality, when you finally let go of time and space, when you let go of the stuff that defines you, you find yourself enveloped by that which was always there and which you have always sensed its presence. You've always been aware in some way. If you are unaware, it's a shock to the system, seeing who you are and that this vast, infinite universe has been microscopically involved in your daily life. In every little choice you make, in everything you do, it was there. And returning to that is inevitable. Every day we are in that, but not knowing it. So what we do when we sit in this class, when we're all together, when we're having this extraordinary opportunity to remember the vertical, we are opening the channels, cleansing, recommitting, allowing this larger truth to permeate our daily lives, so that when we interact with the world, we are interacting with the Holy of Holies. Really? You know, if you want to see God, look around you at everything. That's all this is. It's all this is. And you don't know, if you don't know that, then it's a tripod and a carpet and a wall and a window. But trust me, you don't know what it took to make this tripod. Truly, if you think about the metallurgy that's come into this, the realm of plastic, the camera. I mean, we're talking miracle upon miracle upon miracle. But the fact that there's a wall and there's a beautiful tanka and there's windows that light comes through and carpets that are woven and go on and on and on, the miracle of every created form is kind of invisible to us. We don't think about it. I'm telling you, think about it. Not only think about it, just look at it. Take a breath. Go, ooh. Didn't have to be like this. We could be in a cave, you know? It could have been very different. We have become these unbelievably lucky species that is now, through its unconscious behaviors, causing problems that the universe will not allow, for whatever that's worth. I think we really need to remember to sit still, open, observe, say thank you, reach upward, invite infinite time and space to permeate your time and your space, to feel love, to feel connected, to feel old channels working again, to feel the light that pours through you and to share that light with the people around you, because we, particularly as a group, have been obligated by our connection to Rudy to do that. I look at you, I know you guys do it, I know it. You don't have to share it with multitudes, you need to share it with one another. You need to share it with the person at the supermarket, checking out your groceries. That's where it goes. The idea that you have to be a spokesperson for it is ridiculous. You just have to be an emanation of it. Be an emanation, walk around, do the work. There are those of you who are healers here. What a remarkable obligation. And I can feel when I sit with you how beautifully you guys are doing that work. There are those of us who need to be healed. That's healing. It's not a worldly thing. It's somewhere else. The body, every one of our bodies is going to decay and fall away, and it's already happening to me and those of you I've spoken to. We're all in the process. It's really starting to unhinge on so many levels. And unravel. Okay, unravel. Well, there's another word. Disintegrate. Disintegrate is kind of the way I'm looking at it, and the integration of it is starting to not happen, and that's an amazing thing. And you can sit there and go, why me, God? Or you just go, oh, yeah, of course, this is what happens. It's the last act of all of our lives, and it's really powerful. And we do our best to maintain our capacity for humor and humanity and kindness through the whole thing. But it's a challenge, and we're all moving toward more and more challenge. It doesn't get easier. The work becomes more demanding on some level. On another level, you're closer to truth than you've ever been. So you can just go, okay. This idea of thy will be done. That's kind of the journey I think that we're all on. So coming to Bloomington today, for me, it felt really essential, and I could feel it in the class. I could just feel it sitting with each of you, that I'm telling you, this whatever you want to call it, came through to each of you. It came through, it found its harmonic, if you will, its alignment, its connectivity. It reinforced it, it expanded it, it gave each of you what you need for now and till the end and beyond. Every one of you was brought into alignment. It was really powerful. And so I understood why I was in Bloomington. I came to do these talks about Hollywood. Just for the record, Hollywood for me, I call it the resume in the file cabinet. I have almost no interest whatsoever in that part of the life that I've lived. It really was interesting, and it taught me a lot. The essence of Hollywood was one essential ingredient in Hollywood that is really worth it. It's called destroying your ego. That's what it does. It grinds you in every possible way, and it takes away, it gives you, and then it destroys, and it frees you. It frees you of all that stuff, unless you want to sit around and writhe about it for decades, but you don't have to. You just go, you let it go. You just let it go. And it really is liberating, as is everything in life, if you use it well. I'm so glad I was here. I'm so glad we all connected. And that, it was a little bit like, in terms of accountability, you all passed your test. Everybody here, everyone here, the work has been done, is being done. Rudy, if Rudy is looking over us, and I hope he's not bothering to do that, but if he is, he's smiling, clearly smiling. And it's been a really beautiful experience to touch base with everybody. And I thank you for gathering and for coming back together. And I can't tell you when the next time will be or if there will be, but in terms of the timelessness of all of this, it's already done. So thank you for showing up, guys. Thank you for being here. Lots of love to everybody.